Developing economies face a recurring bottleneck. As populations migrate toward existing commercial hubs, the infrastructure fails to scale. Roads jam, ports back up, and the simple act of moving materials from a warehouse to a cargo ship becomes a costly logistical hazard. Here in the capital, high-density pedestrian and vehicle traffic completely choke the arterial roads, bringing commercial freight to a standstill and severely limiting industrial output. Beyond the physical traffic, there is a legal gridlock. Major infrastructure projects are frequently stalled by chieftaincy land disputes, freezing development before ground is even broken. These cities were built to be centers of political administration and colonial history. They were never optimized for raw, heavy-duty production. This is the rationale behind ABOKENE, a proposed purpose-built city located near the geographic center of the country in the Bono East region. The design ignores administrative prestige entirely. Instead, it is an economic engine engineered specifically to generate $4.6 billion in non-traditional exports annually. To understand how it achieves that output, we have to examine the exact mechanics of its geography, its power grid, and its statutory governance. At its core, the proposal treats urbanization as a mathematics problem. ABOKENE is an industrial supply chain engineered from first principles, masquerading as a city. The location is highly specific, a stretch of land roughly 15 kilometers north of Yeji, sitting directly on the western bank of the Volta Lake. Geographically, the site sits exactly equidistant to Techiman, Tamale, and Koforidua. That central positioning mathematically reduces haulage times to major domestic markets across the board. But the primary advantage is water. Heavy freight can bypass deteriorating road networks entirely. Cargo is loaded onto barges, moved south down the Volta Lake to Akosombo, and then transported a short distance by road to the port at Tema. Using inland water transport for heavy freight is already a proven mechanic in the region, allowing immense tonnage to bypass terrestrial bottlenecks. Routing goods over water cuts overall logistics costs by 30 to 40% compared to standard road transport. Legally, the site is positioned on 25,000 acres of flat land that is already vested in the state. There are no stool land claims to litigate. By combining central placement, water logistics, and pre-acquired land, the blueprint neutralizes the heaviest friction points of West African infrastructure before a single brick is laid. The city's footprint is strictly regulated for output. The zoning allocates 60% of the land exclusively to heavy and light industry, with 25% for commercial and residential use, and 15% reserved for green space. Supplying that 60% industrial zone requires massive energy. The grid pulls a dedicated 400 megawatt feed directly from the Buoy Dam, supplemented by a 200 megawatt solar array built on site. This surplus allows the city to offer manufacturers a locked-in industrial tariff of 8 cents per kilowatt hour, guaranteed for a full decade. The primary target for cheap power is agro-processing. Facilities refine the region's massive raw yields of cocoa, cashew, and rice directly at the source. Secondary sectors include light manufacturing aimed at Sahelian markets, alongside green industrial plants processing domestic lithium into electric vehicle components. The logistics hub supporting this output features an inland dry port equipped with bonded warehouses and automated customs clearance, designed to scale to a 500,000 TEU capacity by 2030. When you combine decade-long locked power rates with high-capacity freight infrastructure, you remove the primary risk factors for heavy manufacturing capital. Traditional municipal bureaucracy is too slow for this volume of trade. To solve this, ABOKENE operates under Act 462 as a Special Industrial Development Authority, or SIDA. The city is run by a lean, appointed 9-member board. To ensure market alignment, the majority of those board seats are permanently held by the private sector. These administrators are hired on strict 4-year performance contracts. If they miss their targets for foreign direct investment and job creation, the entire board is dissolved. The physical government presence inside the city limits is aggressively minimized. Only 6 essential agencies maintain offices on site, including the Revenue Authority, the EPA, and the Investment Promotion Center. Everything else is digitized. The environment guarantees that all business permits are issued within 14 days and pairs that speed with a 10-year tax holiday for export manufacturers. Governance here is stripped of politics. It operates as an automated feature of the supply chain, designed solely to facilitate production. Staffing facilities requires specialized labor. The blueprint integrates 3 technical universities, including satellite campuses for institutions like KNUST, to feed STEM graduates directly to factory floors. The urban layout rejects segregated housing blocks. Mixed-use districts integrate residential areas with commercial spaces, ensuring that workers live within a 10-minute commute of the production lines. Security is redesigned for industrial uptime. The city pioneers a compassionate policing unit, relying heavily on a continuous grid of drones and CCTV for surveillance. Officers are recruited specifically with degrees in psychology or social work, and their training prioritizes active de-escalation over the standard deployment of firearms. Their success is not measured by arrest quotas. The strict KPI for the policing unit is business uptime, targeting less than 2 hours of factory shutdown per year. All bail processes are digitized, meaning police stations hold zero cash, eliminating localized corruption. From education to law enforcement, the social infrastructure is entirely calibrated to maintain continuous, frictionless factory operation. Building this level of base infrastructure requires massive initial capital. Taking on heavy foreign loans would immediately cripple the project with debt, so the state has to look inward to institutions like the Bank of Ghana. This waterfall chart details the proposed catalyst, the Ghana Petroleum Funds, which currently hold a combined reserve of $1.55 billion. That total is divided between $1.38 billion in the Long-Term Heritage Fund and roughly $175 million in the Stabilization Fund. The proposal outlines a strict spending rule. These sovereign funds act strictly as a starter motor, deployed solely to finance the core utilities and land preparation of Phase 1. To prevent the state from over-leveraging itself, Phase 2 triggers a legal contingency. The private sector must finance 50% of the expansion, or all construction pauses. The state uses its sovereign wealth to lay the groundwork and prove the model, but forces private capital to assume the long-term financial risk. This Sankey diagram projects the macroeconomic shift by 2035. National migration flows actively divert from the coast toward the central interior. 1,200 factories will create 180,000 direct jobs, absorbing the labor pool and pulling 500,000 people away from Greater Accra and Ashanti. This interior absorption provides immediate logistical relief on the coast. Shifting heavy cargo to the Volta Lake route is projected to cut truck traffic at Tema port by 18%. Financially, a fully operational ABOKENE adds an estimated 2.1% to the national GDP every year, generating $4.6 billion in non-traditional exports. To protect these gains from future political interference, the blueprint requires an act of parliament that mandates a 2/3 majority to alter the SIDA board structure. By isolating industry from traditional politics and chieftaincy disputes, ABOKENE provides a precise, functional model. It proves that true urbanization in developing nations requires abandoning administrative prestige and optimizing entirely for power, geography, and relentless economic production.